So UFC Paris just happened last night, and the French fighters all went undefeated on the main card. Nassourdine Imavov, as predicted, beat Borralho, but I did pretty bad on predictions with this fight card, especially with Mauricio Ruffy losing to Benoit Saint Denis. And yeah, overall, this was a pretty cool card. Paris went crazy, like they went so loud for their fighters, and it was honestly crazy to see that the French success on this card was off the charts for the hometown crowd. And yeah, I did pretty bad in terms of predictions for this card. And we also lost out on two really good fights with Fereziam supposed to take on Kyle Fernandez. And we also lost out on Pitbull versus Lucene Keita because Keita missed weight. So he got cut immediately from the UFC. And that's truly crazy because you are working your entire professional career in order to be able to be on the biggest show in this sport, which is the UFC by far. And you finally get your chance. You finally get your one shot at a fight in the UFC to make a statement, to begin going after your biggest dreams possible in this space. And what does he do? He misses weight. One of the most unprofessional things you could do in the sport. Doesn't even get to fight. And now he just lost out on a UFC debut. So that was a bummer to not get that fight as well. And Pitbull was definitely pissed about it. So yeah, Nassourdine Imavov is that guy. He goes, though, all 5 rounds with Caio Borralho. It wasn't the worst outing for Caio Borralho. Like, Caio put up a pretty respectable performance, but ultimately, Nassourdine Imavov just did a little bit of more in each rounds. And yeah, I kind of saw this coming. So Nassourdine Imavov, sniper, just a really clean fighter. But if we're talking UFC, we're talking if he's on the level to be able to compete with Khamzat, I just don't think so, honestly. I do not think Nassourdine Imavov knows what's coming with Khamzat Chimaev, just like Dricus didn't know what was coming. And especially if Nassourdine Imavov has to go 5 rounds like that with Caio Borralho, even for sure, maybe he was saying his gas tank was great and he kept to it. And Caio Borralho is no Khamzat Chimaev, obviously. Khamzat Chimaev is one of the most elite fighters this division has ever seen. So, but that's going to be interesting, right? Nassourdine Imavov definitely has enough. Definitely by now. If he didn't, he definitely had enough before coming off the Israel Adesanya win, but now with, again, a Caio Borralho win under his belt, one of the fighting nerds who was on a 17-fight unbeaten streak, beating Caio Borralho in this main event. Nassourdine Imavov should be next for that title shot. Now, we do have De Ridder versus Fluffy in a couple weeks, and honestly, if Fluffy gets a crazy submission finish on De Ridder, then I don't know, he might make a conversation where it's like, okay, who do you go with? You go with Fluffy or do you go with Nassourdine Imavov? But really, Nassourdine Imavov has put himself in the position where he could be next for that title versus Khamzat Chimaev. And Caio Borralho, again, he took a very long layoff in between fights, came in, was talking that talk, but he just looked to seem like he wasn't in his prime fighting nerd self in that fight, even though it went to decision. And yeah, it's back to the drawing board with Caio Borralho. Put him up against Strickland or Whitaker, maybe an Israel Adesanya. Those could all be really good fights for him to bounce back. He's still right there. He's still going to be a top 6 middleweight for the next few years. He still has plenty of potential. But right now, Nassourdine Imavov is that guy who is looking great as a top-ranked fighter in this middleweight division and should definitely be next for Khamzat Chimaev. So yeah, Nassourdine Imavov, Caio Borralho, and great to see that they showed respect. They definitely had some things to say to each other in the lead up to this fight, but Nassourdine Imavov backed up what he said. He's like, okay, I'm taking this fight, gonna show Caio Borralho really what's good, and that's what he did. So Nassourdine Imavov, huge statement, putting the division on notice and the title holder on notice type of win. This was definitely the most surprising moment of the card. I'm sure most people did not see this. Well, a couple people did. That Benoit Saint Denis would end up beating Mauricio Ruffy. Now, we all thought, mostly me, and a bunch of other people that Mauricio Ruffy would be styling and dancing on Benoit Saint Denis to ultimately KO him in a highlight fashion, just like he did to King Green. But Benoit Saint Denis, even with the speculation that he's not the type of guy that has like the best defense, and he coming off a win versus Kyle Prepelic, but losing to Dustin Poirier and Renato Moicano, and that was his last fight, getting pieced up by a Brazilian in the front of the French home crowd. But Benoit did it. He not only beat Mauricio Ruffy, he submitted him in that second round. Mauricio Ruffy lacking the ground game, I guess it's pretty clear he has more work to do to his well-rounded game. For sure, one of the most creative and exciting people on the feet in the lightweight division. But when you're talking about the top echelon of lightweight, you got Arman, Paddy. These guys all have a great grappling ground game base that Mauricio Ruffy needs to be much better and well prepared for. Because that's just what happened. He got beaten by Benoit Saint Denis. So Benoit really respect to Benoit. He beat a guy like Kyle Prepelic. I did not think he was so legitimate anymore, and that a young stud like Mauricio Ruffy could do something crazy. But Benoit bounces back for real. He's really now back in this conversation for being a top lightweight prospect. He really is. So Benoit Saint Denis, I would love to see him fight Yoel Alvarez next, but Yoel Alvarez is already a back step. He just defended his ranking. He'll probably get a much higher ranked opponent next in the lightweight division. So yeah, and from Mauricio Ruffy, and both fighting nerds, both losing. Hopefully the gym could recover from this. I believe Gene Silva's going to win next weekend, but and Carlos Prates, of course, coming off the win, and he has a big fight with Leon Edwards. But right now, the fighting nerds, after tonight, just lost a lot of hype. A lot of hype, for sure. When you have two fighters losing in one night. So yeah, Modestas Bukauskas, I picked Paul Craig. I just thought it was like a wild card pick to pick Paul Craig, but Paul Craig loses in the first round. Modestas Bukauskas buzzer beater KO with the elbows while he's on the ground. Gets Paul Craig out of there. Paul Craig retires. So that's it for Paul Craig and his career. I'm not going to really say that I'm going to miss him as a fighter. Never found him so exciting or whatever. He's just kind of this jobber to be brought up. But Modestas Bukauskas is really riding a wave right now. He's coming off 3 wins in a row? Sirakia, Kutalaba, 4 straight wins really. Modestas Bukauskas is doing really well. So yeah. Modestas Bukauskas should definitely get a ranked guy next. A real ranked guy on this light heavyweight division. Then I thought Balaji Oki would win, but he gets finished by Mason Jones. Mason Jones really making a resurgence after being cut from the UFC, coming back, beating Stevens, and then now Balaji Oki. So that's Mason Jones. You had this fight in place with Axel Sola beating Reese McKee, and then William Gomez bouncing back and beating Robert Ruchala. We were supposed to have Fereziam on the card. He fell off the card. So yeah, Omar Sy also getting the win versus Brenson Ribeiro, KO. Really great bounce back win. He's 16 and what's his record? It's not really saying it. Yeah, I mean, just a lot of finishes overall in this card. Marcin Tybura gets KO'd by Ante Delija. Cal Fernandez, supposed to fight Fereziam, took Harry Hardwick on short notice and just leg kicked him to hell. This dude, the leg kicks were that was crazy. Just by leg kicks alone finishes the guy by making this guy lose his legs. And yeah, Sam Patterson with the KO. Every single fight is a finish. It was crazy. Robert Birzek finishes Brad Tavares in the 3rd round. Not a lot of people, I guess, saw this coming. And then I thought about Andreas Gustafsson was going to get it done. Comes in immediately with that signature Marauder pressure style, coming quick at Renat Fakhretdinov. And Renat Fakhretdinov TKO finishes Andreas Gustafsson. So I guess that record really is starting to be a little more credible for Renat Fakhretdinov now. To have a win like this versus a scary a guy like Andreas Gustafsson. So Renat Fakhretdinov, he's definitely doing some stuff very well in his career. But yeah, that's pretty much the recap of UFC Paris. And yeah, again, all the French guys really won on the card. Huge statements for the French fighters. So that was UFC Paris, and we will see how the middleweight division transpires in the weeks to come.